Okay, welcome back. This is my beautiful wife Charity, and right. And I talked her into doing this piece here, and she's not especially fond of the camera. She's not a camera hog like I am. But a couple days ago, you released some pictures to Facebook, and women tell me that's probably about the bravest thing any woman could do. And I know a lot of your friends have responded that way. And looking at those pictures, I realized that I had not seen most of them, or I don't know if I've seen any of them. And then thinking about it, I realized that we don't really have pictures of our wedding hung up anywhere in our home, and that's unfortunate. And I think probably for the same reasons that I didn't see any of those pictures. And you've been holding them all these years and wouldn't show them to me. Uh, But as you looked at those pictures over the last couple of days, I'm sure you had a lot of thoughts and memories from back then. And I don't know what you were thinking. Most of those pictures were from your sister's wedding.
Yes. It was an absolutely beautiful wedding, and she was absolutely beautiful. And I was fat and felt horrible and felt guilty for feeling that way because it wasn't my day, it was hers. But yes, I never showed you any of those pictures. As a matter of fact, I was very angry when she tagged me in a whole bunch of them all over Facebook before I had ever seen them. And I very quickly told her to remove the tags because I didn't want anyone on my Facebook to see them, which was really silly because it's obviously what I looked like. So my friends already knew what I looked like.
Right.
But no, when I looked at the pictures, I don't remember being that big either. Or I don't remember knowing that I was as heavy as I got. And actually, I lost a few pounds to get into that dress. I was most likely heaviest at our wedding, or a few months later, a number of months later when I had Matthew. And I did not eat well. I'm really sad to say, with my pregnancy and his birth, and throughout that pregnancy, because I didn't know anything about food and about the power of food. I didn't know that. I didn't eat horribly all the time, but I still gave into cravings. And I remember there was a really big fudgesicle period.
I remember the fudgicle era.
Yeah, I would buy you and Jacob half gallons of this and that and say, that's yours. And I would buy
ice cream, not alcohol.
Right. I would buy you guys special stuff just for you, and I would say, don't touch the fudgesicles. And that could mean a box of 40, or it could mean 2 boxes of 40. But, hands off the fudgesicles. So I didn't really eat very well. And I gained quite a bit of weight during my pregnancy. And I waited so long for that baby. And I just was put on almost bed rest 5 months along. So I just kind of went with it, and I figured I'd lose the weight. No problem. But I remember a couple of weeks in a row going in to see Dr. Churchill, and when he said, whoa, you really gained a lot of weight this week. 8 pounds?
I remember I wasn't allowed to look at the scale when you were in the doctor's office. Like, I'm not sure what game we were playing, but anyway, I wasn't allowed to know what the doctor knew. But
actually, it wasn't the scale because I weighed myself in the other room, and then when we would meet with the physician's assistant before we saw Dr. Churchill, she would ask me what my weight was, and I just weighed myself, and I would write it down on a piece of paper so that my husband, who was always there at just about every single appointment, so he couldn't see it. But yeah, I was very self-conscious about my weight, but I was also in a lot of denial about my weight. And I figured I was young and I would lose it. But I didn't do anything whatsoever that would push me in that direction. I just kept gaining. and gaining. I had a lot of health issues that started cropping up, a lot of headaches, and a lot of cramps, a lot of pain, different issues. I had,
I remember you used to take a ridiculous amount of Advil.
yes.
It used to scare
yes,
the hell out of me.
Yes. Yeah, I had a couple surgeries when I was younger as a kid and a little older, and I learned that the best pain management was to take Advil and Tylenol together. And it's prescribed by the hospitals. It's they tell you, um, especially if you're on narcotics for something that you get in there for. They were like, after a surgery, they wean you off those very quickly, and they tell you to take ibuprofen and acetaminophen together. They're really, really bad for you, both of them, but especially together. And I took a ton of it. I took them like candy at times. I suffered horribly with cramps and painful periods and fibroids and tumor. I had that giant, large tumor in my uterus.
I've seen pictures of that, but I have not seen pictures of the wedding.
Well, anyway.
They have little scopes that go in there and they can take color pictures. Pretty neat.
But I had all these different issues that a lot of women have. I didn't have as many women have because I was never on, only for a couple of periods in my life was I on any type of specific birth control, chemical birth control, taking a birth control pill. So I did avoid that. I didn't have as many hormonal imbalances as some women, but I had plenty from my diet and from, I used to be a Mountain Dew junkie. I'm saying that for the benefit of the camera because my husband is well aware of my Mountain Dew addiction. I drank a lot of it long before I knew how bad it was. I drank quite a bit of it even after I knew how bad it was, or at least after I knew that it wasn't very great. I think we watched a special on some place in like West Virginia where everybody drinks Mountain Dew and they're all horribly sick. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I still drank Mountain Dew after that for a good 7 or 8 years.
Well, a lot of these things that we've struggled with, that's been the struggle, is you learn something more and now you know better, but you still haven't really changed any of your habits.
Right.
So now you still do it and then just feel guilty or dumb about it. But
Right.
it I don't know, it takes time for that stuff to sink in. But at some point, neither one of us drink soda anymore.
Right. No, we haven't
I mean,
done
I drank just as many Mountain Dews as you did.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Probably not. And hopefully it wasn't my last
Yeah.
one.
I can remember special trips to the store just for Mountain Dew and Fudgicles.
I can remember fights when you didn't want to take special trips to the store.
Well, it's 10 o'clock at night. I figured we could wait till morning for a Mountain Dew. But I know, and like I said, I don't even remember those pictures or that time or how heavy you were or anything else. I mean, I know that you were.
I think I blocked the number out, but it was up there. And I'm only 5'2", and I'm pretty small framed anyway. Growing up as a little girl, I was very small.
Can you tell me the number now, or
I
how
just said I
heavy?
think I blocked it out. I would have to say, at my heaviest, more than you weigh now. No, I think I was
Okay, all right.
to myself.
Anyway,
No,
well, I'll
no,
tell
no, no.
you.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Okay.
At my heaviest, I was about close to 180.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 175 anyway.
I've never even killed a
76.
deer that big. That's. We can cut that
He
part
really
out.
is smarter than this, usually.
No. I mean, and it's almost irrelevant, right? You had a baby. You kept the baby weight. You struggle with that, like almost every woman in the world. And like you said, you hoped it would take care of itself, right? That's what they tell you, nursing helps and all that stuff. But it wasn't. You were still gaining. And I know you'll say something about how you started to lose weight. But I know for me at that time, you scared the heck out of me, because being a married man with a wife that's struggling with her baby weight, that's normal. But having a wife that suddenly loses 30 pounds in
Well, on the tail
at
end,
any age, just scared the heck out of me. And because you weren't actively on a diet, it's not like you were on a diet and I was cheering you on. You just started losing weight. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, part of that, I think, part of what scared you had to have been also the whole, it was on the tail end or right in smack in the middle of me being so ill. I was waking up every morning, throwing up. I had horrific pain in my stomach, often. Just burning. I want to roll around on the floor. Can't function. Pain at times. That was kind of in the beginning, or not really in the beginning so much as when I really started looking into using alternative medicine. I learned somewhere in a book that turmeric and raw honey mixed together would stop a number of things, but would stop the stomach pain, and it did. It worked like a charm. Once in a while, I'd have to take a second dose within 15 minutes or so because I knew it wasn't quite cutting it, but it worked really well.
And that was turmeric
Yes.
and honey?
But the problem is, and this is what I think we all do when we start down a path of looking for more natural alternatives, is that we're all trained to treat the symptom. We want something that's going to do the same thing a doctor would do for us, which is stop the symptom, but we want to do it in a more natural way. And that's what I was doing. And it took me years, really, to learn to look at it in a different way. To say, well, why am I in horrific pain? It wasn't just a tummy ache. It wasn't just a occasional thing or what happened once because of something. It was all the time. So it was great that I could ease the pain sometimes, but I wasn't getting any better. I still had the pain. I still woke up throwing up. And what I did suddenly learn, and not really consciously yet, but was that the less I ate, the better I felt. And the longer I waited before eating, I would put it off because once I ate, no matter what I ate, it hurt. And so
I can remember harping on you especially when you started losing weight, that you need to eat. You haven't eaten all day. What are you doing? You need to eat.
we argued about it and
Yeah,
fought about
yeah.
it. And you got mad.
Yeah,
You got
well, I
angry.
was scared you were losing weight and you weren't eating. Oh, I just had all kinds of terrible thoughts in my
I
head.
know, but I was 170 something pounds.
Well, you didn't tell me that at the time. I don't.
Well, I would think that since you lived with me, you could see that.
Guys don't see
didn't
things the
look- I
way
didn't-
wives think
I
we do.
didn't look thin like I was ill. I wasn't even close to my ideal weight. I was just in the process of healing. I had just started. It took a while, but I felt better. And I didn't even know anything about intermittent fasting. I didn't know anything about how my body worked. I didn't know anything except I was studying natural healing modalities. I was not even modalities, but natural healing, herbs and other things that you can do, essential oils and plants and spices, and that's around the time that I discovered. It's kind of like Christopher Columbus discovering America. Somebody already did it, but I discovered colloidal silver for our family.
Yeah.
And that, I think, helped instantly take care of hidden bacterial and infections that we tend to carry, a lot of us, without even knowing it. Things like SIBO and...
Sorry, we have a mosquito. Go ahead.
You don't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like intestinal bacteria and things that we just live with, bacteria and fungus and things like that. I think that started to help me also. I just know that I felt better. And no matter how much you harped on me to eat, no matter how much it actually really became a sore point sometimes.
Sorry.
I understand. I didn't know in my mind yet what I was doing, but I did know. My body knew because I started to feel better. And it's really funny because I don't know if you remember, but for like a year, we would discuss it and say, I don't know, maybe colloidal silver really is like magic, you know. For a while, all I could think of was that I was healing my body and losing weight because I was using colloidal silver. And it wasn't until, you know, a year and a half afterwards that I read about intermittent fasting and realized exactly what I had done for my body. And by then it was so much a lifestyle that I just kept doing it. And, you know, I lost a lot of weight, but other changes kept happening the longer we did this, you know, and we've gone down different paths. I love juicing. I think it's amazing. I think it has its place. I think it has its place in everyone's diet. It doesn't always have to be just juicing, like certain situations call for, I believe. But it definitely has its place in a healthy diet to really pack in the nutrient density of your food.
Yeah.
But yes, we've gone through different stages. And those pictures, the last couple of days, have really hit home how far I've come and how good I feel. You know, I went from a bottle of 100 Advil a month to no NSAIDs in years. We don't take them. They
Don't have any in the house?
They are absolutely poisonous and toxic, and they destroy your digestive system, and they destroy your liver, and they wreak havoc on your cardiovascular system, especially if you're a woman over 40. It's even worse. Tylenol is horrible for everyone because it depletes glutathione in your body, and that's your number one detox hormone. The number one way for you to get toxins that we're all taking in out of your body is glutathione. And if you're taking something that's depleting that, you're not doing yourself any favors.
That's good stuff.
It's just that we have all this stuff in our homes and we think it's harmless, and it's not harmless.
Right.
And besides, these things, taking them on a regular basis to try to treat chronic conditions or frequent conditions is even worse because you're shooting the messenger. That's what I always say, you're shooting the messenger. You're having these issues and they just keep happening. It's your body's way of telling you that something's wrong. And if we just keep taking a pill so that we don't feel like something's wrong, one of these days we're just going to flat out combust.
Right. Yeah, it's I get what you mean, because I think human nature, and a lot of times we blame the medical establishment, but as consumers, we are just as much to blame, because we don't want to change our lifestyle. We don't want to change our diet. We want to keep doing what we're doing. We just want to feel good about it and get rid of all these symptoms. So yeah, if we could just eat the standard American diet and eat whatever we normally eat and take a magic pill to feel better, that's what most people want to do, I think. And it's unfortunate. But what you're saying is you weren't even trying to lose weight. You were sick and in pain. You stumbled across this thing that helps you with your pain.
Right. And the weight just started falling off.
And now you have no health issues like that.
Right, none.
None at all.
And at the time is also when I started to learn a little bit more about food, a little bit more about processed food, chemicals in food. And it's when I started cutting that out of our house. You know, we got rid of, we didn't buy bread. We didn't buy anything in boxes. I still bought pasta occasionally. But that's about it in a box. We didn't buy pre-packaged, pre-made anything.
Right. Can you remember, this is embarrassing now, can you remember when you're going through one of those phases that we take all that packaged stuff that we had and we put it in a box, and instead of burning it, we go give it to the neighbor, right? Like, here, we don't want this poisonous food. Would you like it? And now you wouldn't do that, would you?
No, of course not.
Well, because you don't have that stuff in your house. But if you did,
Right.
you know, if you went to someone else's house and did it, you'd throw it in the trash. You wouldn't give it to the neighbor. How rude! But
Right.
but
When they come by with the collection of for food in the mailbox, I always forget that they're doing it, and I never have anything to put in there because everything we have in the house is perishable.
Right.
You know, occasionally you'll have a can of organic beans. You know,
Yeah,
to
sure.
have in the cupboard in case
Yeah.
soak our own. But
But you're right. We don't
No.
have a cupboard that has
none.
boxes
We
with
go to the grocery
labels
store 4 or 5 days a week because we buy fresh food.
Right.
You know, sometimes 6 or 7 days a week because that's just the way we do it. But I feel amazing, and it's 10 years later than when I felt so horrible.
Right.
You know, in my mid 40s, I think the numbers that I've been reading are that 50% of women in their mid 40s are overweight, and half of those are obese. And when we get to a point that that's where we are in our mid 40s, especially, if we don't do something to change that direction, we are never going to be well. We're going to live our lives in pain and just be sick. And it's something that's completely in our control.
And it seems like you're right. It seems like there's a tipping point there where, you know, you either do something bizarre and different with your life, or it's just going to continue to go downhill.
Mhm.
More meds, less mobility,
Right,
less
right.
exercise, less.
Right? That's
It's a death spiral, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, the number one thing that people message me about is probably a tie, and it's weight loss and pain. Weight loss and pain. And something you just mentioned is a really big factor, and that is the mobility thing. You have pain. When you have pain, you move less. And when you move less, you have more pain.
Mm,
And
that's
you
a tough spot to be, isn't it?
And not only do you have more pain, but you move even less because you're in pain.
Mm.
And the less you move, the less your body tries to move. And like you said before, you know, exercise is your body's way of it's your way of communicating to your body what you need out of it, what you expect to get out of it, what you expect it to do.
What you demand out of it, right?
Right. I need to. We've laughed about it before, and I don't mean that it's funny. It's just human nature and how things are. Sometimes they're so ironic, but you build a house for your retirement, and people build these places on one level so that they don't have to deal with stairs. And
Everyone knows that. That's how you design your retirement home, right?
Right.
One level.
Right,
Yeah.
in case, right? So instead, you build your retirement home with 2 sets of stairs, 2 levels, so that you're running up and down the stairs
Right,
every day.
yeah.
It's only when you quit doing the things that you want your body to do that it stops doing that.
We should make it where you like have to climb up a rope to get up to the bedroom or something.
Right, it already feels like that.
Yeah.
I have like ladders to my loft. Not quite, but they feel like that sometimes.
So at some point in there, and I don't remember the exact year, you started taking the natural health consultant course, and then you followed that with all the other courses. And
Well, actually, I was taking 2 or 3 other courses at the same time.
yes, I remember.
And actually, I started 4 years, 5 years before that with research, and certain seminars I'd pick up and find. Probably the biggest one before that was The Truth About Cancer.
Mm.
That was really, really eye-opening. But yes, actually, I started researching heavily with cancer. Okay, I want to say I dabbled in it when your mom was sick, just a little bit with nutrition. That's when we started way back there. We started, I picked up a book that was about 12 superfoods.
I remember.
And that's when the philosophy was born that if you're not purposely doing the right thing, you're probably going to do the wrong thing. And what we did was I made sure that all of us ate those foods every single day. Started making smoothies. I bought a lot of supplements. I bought flax oil. I bought fish oil. I bought COQ10. I bought, a lot of things that I was learning was good.
I learned what quinoa was. I never had
Right,
quinoa before, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was making granola, and I was making smoothies, and we were doing pretty good. Didn't know anything. I thought I did, but I didn't know anything except I had learned that there were superfoods in the world that provide energy and provide the nutrients we need. I had no idea back then what they did in the body or why I really needed them. I just loved this book. It was really well written, and that's what we did. But I started digging into the cancer a little bit then. But when life got busy and life got crazy, and then I got pregnant, and we made our big move to Greenbush, and we were living in that tiny cabin, and
Good times.
off grid, and you were gone.
Hillbilly hippies living in the woods, right?
You were the hillbilly.
Okay.
But we were living in the woods, and you were gone all week long,
Yeah.
and it was me and a baby and all the animals, and so I had a lot of time to research. And Tasha got sick, my black lab, and she was going downhill really, really fast. And I think I spent 20 hours straight on the internet researching, and every single thing I came up with when I would research cancer and dogs was diet. Every single thing, over and over and over again. Hundreds and thousands of hits about dog food and about species appropriate diet and about the things in dog food and how dog food ever even came to be in existence and what dogs used to eat. All those years ago, people that owned dogs were farmers and hunters and people that could feed dogs. They had jobs, and they, that's how they got fed. They ate animals. They ate meat. They're carnivores.
Right.
So,
probably ate a lot of table scraps too, but
sure,
right.
But for the most part, because that's what dogs are carnivores. So when I started looking at what was in dog food, and it's the corn and soy and preservatives and coloring, and they cook the food to such extremes to kill off all the nasty, gross stuff that it's really made out of, and then add it back in certain vitamins that dogs are supposed to have. And it didn't make sense to me, and it apparently didn't make sense to anyone else. So we had to go to town, and we were raising rabbits at the time, and but we went to town, and I got a bunch of things that I thought were going to be good supplements. The Budwig protocol, which is an excellent protocol for cancer, and we switched her to a raw diet. Just like
she
that.
Liked that.
She loved it. She had a tumor that was the size of a grape that had come up around her front canine, if you remember. And within just like 3 days, it was that big. And that's what they said would kill her first. The world cancer is super, super fast. And it was growing so fast. But she had no problems chomping right through a chicken leg quarter, bone and all, for another 20 months. And that's when we discovered colloidal silver.
I grew up, dogs aren't supposed to eat chicken.
Right.
Or that's what everyone told me.
Right. Well, so does everybody else. Dogs aren't supposed to have bones. And what that really means is that dogs aren't supposed to have cooked bones. Dogs have always eaten bones. Since dogs have been in existence, they eat bones. When bones are not cooked or smoked, they're soft and pliable and are easily digested in a dog's digestive system, which is really, really short and really, really, really full of acid and meant to move things really quickly through the digestive system. So their bones are excellent for dogs because they help, especially from a young age, they help develop all the muscles and the strength in their jaw and their neck muscles and keep their teeth clean. And it's just species appropriate. They don't have to have tons of that. They have to have a certain amount to get the calcium, the phosphorus, and all the different things that they need.
Right.
So yeah, she did a 180-degree turnaround from the beginning. I don't know if you remember exactly, but she hadn't eaten in like 3 to 4 days or gotten up to move. As a matter of fact, you were out of town working, I was out of town, and I had to send you home from work out of town to go and take care of the dog because the neighbors that were watching the dog called me and said she stood up, screamed in pain, laid back down, and now hadn't gone outside to go to the bathroom or do anything in like 48 hours. And you had to threaten her with a leash to get her to get up
Right.
because she wasn't going to.
And you know, looking back, if we'd had plenty of money in the bank, we'd have probably been at the vet 3 times a week and spent thousands of dollars to try to save this dog, but we weren't really.
I don't really think so. Not
Well,
the place that
I know
felt.
you were in a different place and you were learning a lot. I'm just saying, before that, before we knew all the natural stuff, you know, it would have been about throwing money at this cancer problem with our beloved dog. But really, we didn't have the money anyway, so that wasn't really an option. And you'd been learning a lot of stuff.
Well, in my research, I instantly learned that what she had going on was not really going to be helped by surgery. I was way past any type of chemo or anything like that. And also with what I learned in the first 20 hours of research about diet and just dealing and focusing on dogs' diet changes, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away because in the mix of my research about diet was also the antibiotics and the prescription medication and the chemical wormers and chemical flea and tick protection and all those things that she had been showered with. You know, if you remember, Tasha had ear infections her entire life. She swam in the river pretty much every day, seasonally, but I was diligent about washing her ears and cleaning her ears, and it didn't matter. And it was because of the diet. One thing I learned in my research is that all these things in her diet, in the dog food, it was sugar, just like with people. It was sugar. It turns to yeast. It caused constant ear infections and constant skin infections. She would have staph infections on her skin nonstop. And every person that has asked me for help with their dog in the last 10 years, ear problems and skin problems, it's always, always, always diet related. Always, no matter what. As soon as they clean up the diet and then they use a few things to clean up the fungus and extra yeast and then clean the diet, it responds just like that. And it's the same with people. And that's the only reason I'm still talking about dogs, is that it's the same with people. Right now, across nature, as a species, we are the sickest species that exists. There's never been a species out there that's been as sick as we are. Right? And I was so surprised in my research and looking at how much nutrition affected the dog that it was like a light bulb going off. Actually, I started to look more at that because we were all sick. You know, really, you weren't as sick, but you had heartburn like there was no tomorrow. You spent so many nights coughing and coughing up acid some nights, so bad. So we weren't doing well.
No, and I was always struggling with 20, 30 pounds overweight, whatever. I mean, I was never huge, but I was always, you know, always had that middle-aged pudge that every guy wished they didn't have, you know.
Well, you struggled off and on with that when you were younger too, before you met me.
Yeah. Yeah, really, my whole adult life.
A couple of times during the whole beginning of our relationship in those first few years, because I was constantly feeding you.
You're a good cook.
Boy, that was really hard. Yes. So we're all sick, and diet is the biggest contributor to that, which is really good because the flip side of that is that diet is the biggest healer to all of that. And I've seen it time and time and time and time and time again. I've seen people change I have read the most incredible stories of people changing everything about things they never thought they could change. I have seen, not personally seen, but I have seen there's some amazing people out there. Dr. Terry Walls, she went from wheelchair to, she was there. Grouty chair, she couldn't do anything. She was steps away from a wheelchair and with MS, and she's now standing for hours at a time teaching other people that it's their diet that's killing them and it's their diet that can save them.
Yeah, she's amazing, and she does marathons and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
So a few years ago, she was almost bedridden, and
Right.
now she's doing.
Right. Well,
right.
before the whole thing hit, she did Taekwondo competitively. But she's just one of literally hundreds of doctors and people that we have watched, read books. It's been quite an incredible reading thing.
Yeah.
My
We have a ridiculous library. It's almost. I think we need a 12-step program for buying books and bringing books home and having a library.
Right. Yeah. I never ever found a book that I didn't love. That's not true. I bring books home all the time. It's like, oh, that's junk. Let's throw it away. But yeah, books there's so much knowledge in the world, and I love.
Isn't it weird that
learn.
there is, when you start looking, it's all there, but yet we believed the same things that all our friends did and all our relatives, and it seems like everyone believes the same stuff, and if you just start researching it a little, you realize that a lot of it is either not true or half true or...
Right. And I all I can say is that the results show themselves, and I'm not the only one. It's happened with thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
It really is. There's 100 plants in the world that'll kill a cancer cell. There's plants that will lower your insulin and balance things out and help you there. And there's plants that will cure an infection and will, give you a little bit of extra energy or vitality or all these things. But no matter what plants you're taking in, unless you control what your default diet is, unless you control what you're putting in on a daily basis, then it doesn't matter, because the things that made you sick were your diet. And until you change it,
Right.
you're going to keep being sick. The standard American diet is pure poison and crap. When I walk in the grocery store and I walk all around the edges, and mostly in the produce section, and I see everyone, and it's not a judgment thing. I have friends that have hidden their plates for me at functions. It's really kind of annoying. I'm not the food police. You know who you are.
What is that? The fried dough, right?
Don't say any names.
No.
That's just one that's funny.
No.
But no, but people do that. And I am not perfect. I have eaten things that I shouldn't eat, and I know better. But we've really come really far, and it's so much easier now. But anyway, so I'm not the food police. And where was I?
I don't know. Hold on. We got our buddy the mosquito came back.
All right, so let's figure out where I was.
Talk about. You just shushed me on a video.
We was already cutting that out. You just got up and slapped a mosquito over my head.
I'm
Sorry.
not cutting that out.
Yes,
She
you
shushes
are.
me all the time. You
Yes,
should
you are.
email her and tell her to stop doing it. Talk about being a good cook and learning and starting to learn things that you really shouldn't be eating and not knowing what to buy. And I know that we have almost bickered about that,
Almost. Were you there?
I'm being polite.
Not
You know
yours
that,
then.
that what the hell do we eat? We're starting to learn that our whole diet is poison.
Right.
and we're learning about superfoods, but
Right.
we didn't have the whole BFF idea back then. It was
Well,
just
besides that, we just had so many wrong ideas too that we've sort of tweaked. But yeah, that was still a struggle because the grocery stores, and it's hard. It's hard when you live, especially in Maine. You live in a cold climate where the growing season, if you're trying to buy fresh and local, it's even harder. But I've had customers see me in the store cussing. You know who you are. Because I walk in the store and everything is poison. You're surrounded by poison. And we pull into the grocery store and Scott would stay in the car and what do you want for supper? And he was no help at all. He would either say some stupid thing that we don't eat anymore and haven't eaten for a long time. Like,
lasagna.
But anyway, we don't eat lasagna. So it's just got too many factors. But anyway, so yeah, it was really, really difficult. It was so difficult. And what we've done in the last however long it's been is really taken that difficulty, at least most of it, out of the equation.
Right.
Once in a while I struggle and I said, what could we have that's different than just, vegetables? But really there isn't much that we eat that is different than that. We'll just prepare them in a different way.
Right, there's a lot of different things you can, vegetarians
Right.
cook all kinds of different things, right?
And we do, and I do, but our default has been because of a number of reasons. We really like the raw. We really like the raw vegetables.
It works so good for us.
Exactly. Hummus, we love hummus. Hummus is awesome. Buy organic. So it's really good stuff. But yeah, it kind of takes the guesswork out. If you concentrate on the foods that are really important to helping to heal your body if it's sick, helping to nourish your cells and give them every vitamin and all the phytonutrients and you see that in the colors across the rainbow, your reds, purples, especially brightly hued, beets, peppers, anything you can grab that's fresh and organic is preferable. Sometimes you can't get it. Try to get the worst ones organic when you can. Get the heavier, thick skin stuff that is supposed to be safer for you. But as much fruit and vegetables, seeds are wonderful. You don't want boxes of food. You don't want preservatives. You don't want chemicals. Your body's cleaning all that stuff out. And
I like the idea.
Half of what makes you overweight is because of toxins and chemicals. It's not that you're eating more necessarily. I know so many women that have struggled and got their calories right down to starvation and the weight won't move. And it's because we're holding on to these toxins that are making our systems that are supposed to get rid of that, take us out of fat, out of sugar burning mode, don't work. Because we're never doing anything to put our body in fat burning mode. And that's where it wants to be. It's the most efficient. But we stay in sugar burning mode. And you're in sugar burning mode because usually you're always hungry. You're always snacking. A lot of people that stay in sugar burning mode get that hangry, irritated, anxiety, almost angry when they get too long without food. It's because they're in sugar burning mode instead of fat burning mode. Whereas if you're in fat burning mode, you're steady, you're much more focused. They actually show your brain and cognitive function is much higher when you're in fat burning mode than it is when you're in, you sleep better.
Right.
I talk to so many women, especially because I talk to a lot more women than I do men, but I talk to women that don't sleep. Nobody sleeps. I had somebody say to me the other day in a joke, a woman about my age, about how I don't get any sleep, and I'm like, I sleep like a baby.
You did. Oh shoot, I forgot what I was just gonna say. No, it's okay. That happens. It's live, right?
Right.
So we're gonna go to a commercial break now. No, the sugar burning mode, just hearing you talk about it just then, it really is. It sounded just like an addiction when you were talking about it.
Right.
The irritability, the ups and downs, the not being able to sleep, right?
Right.
It really is. We call it a food addiction, but it
Right.
really is chemically with the sugar, being sugar addicted as opposed to fat adapted.
Right.
It really is an addiction,
Absolutely.
and the
Absolutely.
effects it has on
Do
your
you doubt
body.
it? You lived
No,
with me.
no, I
Mountain
know.
Dew, fudgesicles.
Right,
You lived with
right.
me.
Yeah.
Sugar was that.
But it's not just sugary foods, it's just that sugar metabolism from our diets that
Mhm.
everything we eat is turned into sugar anyway, from our breakfast cereal to our,
Right. Let's not jam pack this too much. Let's give everybody's brain.
it's day one,
chance.
right? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Let's wrap it up with this though. I just talked to somebody yesterday or the day before, and we were talking about how horrible sugar is for your body. And we all know it's not ideal, but sugar is toxic, and we are going to get into that. I'm sure multiple times throughout this course. It's toxic to every single cell in your body, but it's not just sugar. And she said to me, okay, so I need to work on getting the sugar out of my body. And I said to her that grains are like one step away from sugar. That as soon as she eats the grain, it does the same thing in her body, and the body responds the same way as sugar. And it's what we're just not realizing or getting to, is that everything that we eat that isn't sugar is the same thing as sugar, and it's a lot of what's killing us. It's one of the number one causes of diabetes, is sugar and greens, and screwing up that whole system. And greens are absolutely not meant for us to eat. Cereal grains. We'll get into that more.
Cool. Well, I think we've done a pretty good job, especially with no script or plan. It was just kind of a conversation. But
you had nobody here to interview either, because I'm still not
Right.
impressed with being in front of the camera.
Well, I think she did great, and I think you're beautiful. And see, shush me again on the camera. Don't shush people. No one likes to be shushed. But so this is day one, and we're so excited to be able to go from
Right.
where you're going to be in 30 days. Just the understanding and the changes, because we looked at things the wrong way for a long time, and it slowed us down. Even when we were, studying and doing the right thing, we were looking at things the wrong way. And so we're hoping that you'll be able to save a lot of time by getting these concepts. So anyway, that's good for now. Thank you so much for braving it and coming out here with the mosquito. And
Did you say mosquito?
I said with the mosquito that's flying around. But yeah.
There's just one mosquito.
Yeah. They all have the same name.
It's Chilean name.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's it. We'll edit this and get it out there, and we'll start working on day number 2. See you.